Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. So, helping friends. This is a topic that's come up for me recently. I've had a few instances where there's been a friend who's having a problem or having difficulties for one reason or another. And the question is there anything I can do to help? Should I be helping? What do they actually need? How do I need to hold my own boundaries? All of these questions. Now, some people listening to this may have mastered this and may be absolutely crystal clear how to identify if, when, how, what, where, etc., to help out a friend. Now, I think this is a very important topic at the moment because I think that community is something that is really being called for all of us at the moment. Some years back, we went through a period of when a lot of us were very isolated. And since then, immediately, there's been a sense of people wanting community and connection. We're also in a situation where a lot of people are isolated behind technology, behind social media, and not really spending a lot of time with other human beings, IRL. The fact we have a term called IRL to say just simply being in the room with somebody really lets us know that things have changed since I was a child, very significantly. So we're in this place where we need community. We're in this place where, for many of us, we're really getting too much screen time and not enough live in-person time. And then sometimes our friends or we ourselves hit problems and need help. So the question is, how do we navigate that? My take on this currently at the moment is the notion that in order to be helped, we first have to help ourselves. And what I mean by that is we need to be, at the very least, in a state of receptivity to receive the help that we need. And what that means is we need to be at a certain level of responsibility. Now, this is if we are operating as an adult, if we wish to be operating as an adult. If we are in a place where we cannot take responsibility for ourselves for whatever reason, or we're unwilling to take responsibility for ourselves for whatever reason, then we've slipped back into what I might call child mode. So in child mode, someone else is responsible for us. Someone else makes sure they feed us, clean us, dress us, keep us sheltered, and basically keep us alive until we're able to become an adult. And at that point, we are then responsible for ourselves. But that doesn't mean we don't hit problems. It doesn't mean we don't have a terrible accident, a heartbreak, a breakdown. Some sort of awful thing can happen, or even just difficult times, even just having not quite enough money, or even just a bit too much debt, or even just not very well, just a bit unwell, a bit exhausted. A lot of people at the moment are suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome and various other associated fatigue-related conditions. There are people suffering from depression. There are people suffering from a general sense of apathy and ennui and boredom and pointlessness. There are people feeling isolated, lonely, feeling like their lives are meaningless. There are all sorts of what you might call systemic situations that people are experiencing where you could say they need some help. But then the question is, if, let's say I'm in one of those places, let's say I'm at a low ebb, not at my best, on my back foot, feeling terrible, difficult situation, am I then able to take responsibility for myself in regard to that or not. Now, if I'm not finding myself able to or willing to take responsibility for myself, and I include in that taking responsibility for my circumstances and situation, then what I'm going to tend to do is try to reach out for the sort of help which is going to rescue me, make me feel better, and take away the pain. But that kind of help probably won't actually help with the root cause of the situation. All it will do is help me feel better for a bit. A bit like if someone is chronically in debt and they desperately need a bit more money to pay the bills this month, giving them a bit of money to help them do that, it may help them temporarily. It may help them feel better. They might feel good about the fact someone loves them and is helping them. You might feel good about the fact that you're helping them, giving them something, but it doesn't really fix the problem. It doesn't really go to the depths of the problem and say, okay, so why are you in this situation? What actually is the root of this? What actually is the fix? I was talking to a friend recently, and they were experiencing all sorts of difficult experiences in their life. And it turned out that the prime high leverage aspect of their life that was actually colouring in a negative way everything else was where they live at the moment, their living environment. And in the conversation, it turned out that they knew perfectly well what they needed to do is get out of there and go and live somewhere else. Now, it's not going to be easy for them to do that necessarily. It's more and more difficult these days to make a change like that. But they knew that that's what they need to do. Now, interestingly, in that conversation, it wasn't me who came up with that insight. It was them. They were the only person who could do that. And that's the thing. In regard to friends asking for help, ultimately, they are the only people who can identify the root cause of any difficulties they may be experiencing. No one else can identify that for them. Why? Because they're the ones who created their situation. You might say that they had an unfortunate start, they've had bad luck, they've had bad situations, they've met the wrong people, but they're the ones who've made the choices that they've made in response. So in that regard, I'm not saying they caused everything that's happened in their lives, but I am saying that they chose the choices that they chose. And that's what they can be responsible for. They can be responsible for what they did, the choices they made, the actions they took, the behavior they took that helped to bring them to where they are. And it's only through them acknowledging that, recognizing that, and starting to do some business with it, do some work with it, that they can start to shift the root cause. So if I'm in that place and I'm not wanting to take responsibility, not willing to, don't know how to, whatever, and I'm casting around for help to make me feel better, I'll tend to ask people for the sort of help that is not really going to fix the problem. And if they turn around and say, no, I don't think that's going to help fix the problem, I'm going to be annoyed. I'm then going to blame them for also being part of the problem. So then if I'm the person who is saying no in that way, suddenly I'm in a different role now. Suddenly I'm the person saying, actually, no, I don't think I should do that for you. I don't think that's really going to help. I now have to deal with how I feel about my friend getting angry and upset with me and possibly no longer taking my calls and possibly bitching about me with other people. So this is a real messy situation. This is a really complex situation. I think in the end, what it comes down to is everybody involved is teetering on the edge of, am I going to be responsible for what I'm experiencing and for my choices, or am I not? And I think we've all seen situations where there are communities of people, families, businesses, collective groups of people, where people are helping each other out in a way which is nothing short of collusion, basically, in a way which is simply helping people shore up the status quo, helping people keep going in the way that doesn't really work, but somehow survive it. And you've probably noticed that when people are in that kind of dynamic, the energy they put into what they're doing is never really returned in full. Over time, this becomes exhausting and draining for people. Over time, people become less resourceful, less creative, less happy, less passionate, less energetic. Because what they're doing is essentially they're lying to themselves. They are saying to themselves, I am getting the help that I need, when they're not really. Or I am giving someone the help they need, when not really. And again, the trouble with this is we can't know what our friend really needs. Short of, if they've broken their leg, they need the leg set. But other than situations like that, we don't know what they really need. So we can't decide what they really need. All we can do is go into a place of love, go into a place of serving the highest in that person, their highest potential, and following our intuitive sense in that regard, whilst knowing that we don't know if it's right. Now, that's a difficult place to be. It's much, much easier to just do what they're asking us to do. Much easier. That's the easy way out. Even if it involves giving them a lot of money or spending a lot of time, that's much easier than engaging with, getting very truthful with it and connecting with, does this feel right to me? And could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. And acting on what actually feels truthful and loving for us. So it's a difficult situation all round if a friend is having problems, or if we're having problems, it's difficult. So there are other situations where people have actually been working on this for some time, and they are diligently doing their best in regard to it. Now, those environments and cultures tend to be a little bit more exciting and scary to engage with. They tend to be quite lively. They tend to be quite present and authentic. There tends to be a bit of a feeling of we're not really quite sure what's going on. It can feel a bit chaotic. It can feel risky, but it's real. And everybody's growing. And nobody seems to be getting old. Because what's happening is people are living in the moment. And in the moment, we are ageless. In the moment, we are just pure spirit. We are pure intuition. We are pure consciousness. So if you have someone in your life who needs some help, maybe take a little bit of time to reflect on, how do you feel in response to their request? What's your sense of what feels right in terms of your contribution? Are you willing to be real and authentic and loving with that person in your response? And if you're somebody who is having difficult times at the moment, then are you being prepared to really be truthful with yourself? To really acknowledge how you may have actually conspired with yourself to some extent to bring you to where you are. And this is not about blame. This is about looking in the mirror and just being really truthful in a loving way, in an accepting way. And just knowing that everything you've done, every choice you've made, very probably you did it for a good reason on some level. So it's not about going back and criticizing ourselves. It's about saying, okay, this is where I am. It might be crap. It might be horrible. So let's just start by saying, okay, let's just assume that I brought myself to this point. And let's just assume that I am a good person, worthy of love and worthy of help. What is it that really needs addressing? And what help do I really need to reach out for in terms of really addressing that as a responsible adult? And of course, if you are actually a child, then you have another whole set of options, which is you do have people around you who are supposed to be helping you. So ask them to help you. And if they're not helping you, find some other people who should be helping you and ask them for help. So good luck with this. I would not claim to have mastered this in any shape or form. For me, it's always a conundrum every time, both ways round. But I do feel like I've actually committed myself to being as truthful and loving as I possibly can in this regard. And I think for most of us, that's the best we can actually do. And every time we practice that, we become a bit more astute, a bit more sensitive, a bit more grounded and intuitive around it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you are watching this on video, please do put a comment about this. I'd love to hear what you think and what your experiences are in this regard. Have a great week. Give the help that is right to be given. Ask for the help that is right for you to ask for. Much love. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.